Star Citizen has a brand new power suit that you can operate in the game, and it is freaking cool. With this game drawing many of its inspirations from other popular sci-fi genres, the Argo Atlas suit is without question a nod to the movie Aliens, and it too is specifically designed for loading and unloading cargo, and maybe fighting queen aliens or space cows. Let's check it out and do a catch up on everything Star Citizen. Alright, admittedly I've been kind of perusing Star Citizen's update notes more than actually playing the game lately, but this robot suit was something that I just had to see for myself. Most things Star Citizen tend to be pretty janky on their first go around, but amazingly the Atlas seems to mostly work.
Mostly.
Now, what can you do with this bad boy, you might be asking? Well, firstly, it can pick up boxes with a tractor beam and then place them down in new locations. Secondly, well, okay, that's kind of pretty much all you can do with it. But now you can move boxes and look cool at the same time. Sadly, you can't pick up the boxes with giant clampy hands and move them around manually, but also that would probably be insanely slow and just require a lot of additional animation work and stuff to get it working properly. Now, it does actually have a nicer tractor beam setup where it'll bring the objects directly to you, and then it gives you a placement UI right away without having to do all the manual scrolling and rotating. So it is technically faster, though I think this same UI should be applied to all tractor beams, since using tractor beams in the universe right now is kind of cumbersome and annoying. This is sort of the improved UI that I hope just applies to everything in the future. It can also move the largest possible containers, so these could become standardized tools in most people's cargo bays, and even keeping one in your ship if there's enough room. I don't know what the price plans are for this robot. It would be nice if you just got one if you own, say, a personal hangar, but I've got a feeling that a price point is coming with this guy, just knowing how CIG likes to throw prices onto many things. Now, we've known that CIG was planning to do powered combat suits for quite a while, so this is likely a precursor for a combat variant. And obviously everybody is extremely excited about a combat variant, as they should be. I can already imagine these things going up against tanks with their own mobile rail guns or having jump jets and stuff like that. It would be pretty dope. Now, regarding the overall state of the game, the latest 3.24 patch has added persistent hangars, and new inventory system, and cargo missions. There's been a lot of new bugs and instability, of course, but according to a recent Star Citizen live show, they've learned a lot and are using this patch as a scale test for the backend systems, and the data that they have so far will lead to big stability improvements. I hope. The current item management, persistent hangars, and even ship calling mechanics are still kind of hot topics in the community, and to be honest, they've become somewhat of a detriment to me personally. Star Citizen has always been a bit of a laborious game just to get started in playing, and now item and loot management is even more work. It's made the prospect of just jumping in for a quick mission a bit less appealing. CIG did revert some of the item drawer issues that everyone was complaining about from before, so that is good, and that they are willing to make changes based on overwhelming feedback, but it's also just one piece of a large laborious puzzle. I can't imagine a world in which this stuff is less problematic, where a large persistent universe that doesn't constantly reset in between patches would allow players to build up more convenient ways of organizing and getting their items and their persistent hangars, but in its current state it just feels like a bit more busy work that is required to do before you can get to what I consider to be the fun part of Star Citizen. I think CIG will eventually have to reconsider some major design choices with their inventory design, or the target audience for this game could get pretty small. The current demographic seems to be people who like extremely realistic hands-on space games, but also have a massive abundance of time to play. So, retired dad gamers, essentially. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day, and as always, CIG is pushing forward with tons of new content and previews. The latest preview being Space Cows. A significant portion of the recent Inside Star Citizen show demoed a new cow-like creature that'll have different variants for different climates and can be harvested for stuff like its tongue. Sadly, you're going to have to wait till 4.0 to get your hands on those tongues. Along with more character customization options like tattoos coming into the game and more hairstyles. You'll also be able to get a Pico tattoo in case anybody was wondering. They've spent the past month or so talking about new plans for Pyro, like contested stations. Basically, they're planning to add areas of Pyro where players can contest locations and get rewarded for doing so. This is basically breaking up Pyro into more hostile, more lawless areas, and then having more controlled areas. And as many people expected and even observed in the first playtest of Pyro, a 100% lawless system results in a lot of abuses and difficult gameplay, to say the least, like spawning into a hab and getting killed in the station you're in. Not that that wouldn't be cool at some point, but I think the second system for Star Citizen, it might be a little bit too brutal to have crazy, hardcore, lawless mechanics. And it does seem like Pyro is going to have a ton of new content. Hopefully their mission systems are more varied and more interesting compared to Stanton, because I think a lot of veteran players are really relying on this next system to sort of add in new gameplay opportunities. Now, CitizenCon, Star Citizen's massive yearly celebration of the game and promotion for the game, where they usually demo new content, is about 40 days away. And it's kind of anybody's guess as to what's going to be announced there or even released potentially during the event. There's still a lot of expectations from Squadron 42, Star Citizen's single-player game, which was a major showcase at the last event. Some were even expecting it to be potentially released this year. Many people thought that they were going to at least announce a release date for it this year. But maybe we'll see an announcement for a release date at this year's CitizenCon. Who knows? And then, of course, the long awaited 4.0 update, which would include traveling between systems and the first iteration of server meshing, is technically planned to launch in Q4 of this year, although that 4.0 release has become a bit of a running joke, with them always pushing it back another year for honestly, I don't even know how many years at this point. That said, it feels so much closer than ever, with the public being able to test Pyro, test server meshing, and even test jump gates between systems. So all the core tech needed to make Pyro work has already been tested by the larger player base. So at this point, players are just waiting for them to iron out the bugs and polish it so it works at scale. We're kind of in a weird state for Star Citizen right now. 2024 was marketed as the watershed year for this game, with so many promised updates and features happening, and while a huge amount of those updates and promises have actually made it into the game this year, like a new star map, new looting mechanics, EVA 2.0, persistent hangars, it's also felt a bit content light in comparison. A new cargo mission tree and a few missions that are gathered around distribution centers has provided new content that can be consumed in a somewhat short period of time. In my opinion, certainly not enough to keep a player base entertained for a year. But what's interesting is that it does seem like a lot of the tech debt for the game and the core features are actually starting to catch up with the final vision for the game, which makes its overall lack of mission content start to stick out more than it did before, which ultimately is a good thing. It just doesn't feel quite as watershedy of a year as was originally promised, simply because the new updates and features don't necessarily add tons of gameplay. Still, I'm very excited to see what's in store for this year's CitizenCon, even if the updates for the game haven't brought me back into it in a large way. For me personally, Squadron 42 has become a bigger part of the equation. I'm really looking forward to playing something that feels drenched in lore and production quality. It could be a really nice change of pace from, playing an alpha version of Star Citizen. What do you guys think of the progress made in 2024 so far? The tech has been impressive, even if it does fall a little short of the original promised list of content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this update video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. And next up, check out this video here for a space adventure game that lets you do a ton of stuff, including using dual joysticks that I've been playing a lot in the meantime while I wait for Star Citizen to do something interesting. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.